his chances. Oh, brilliant goal! A brilliant goal! Remember the name, Wayne Rooney.
Pirlo, ancora Pirlo di tacco, tiro,
Andrea Pirlo will take, and it's volleyed, and it's in. A goal in 50 seconds from Milan. Oh, would you believe it? Paolo Maldini, the skipper, has scored it. Balotelli, Aguero! I swear you'll never see anything like this ever again.
Welcome back to the Footy Fans Podcast. This is episode 8. And, boys, got a cracker of a week here.
We do. Got a lot of talking points, a lot of talk about some controversy, a little bit of controversy. VAR stepping in again. It's going to be a really meaty show today.
I mean, I feel like every episode, I lead off by saying we have so much to talk about. But it's so true. It's not like it's scripted. It's just legit so much to talk about.
No, it's like we said earlier today. It's like every weekend there's almost like a massive must-watch game that kind of tells the tale. So with Champions League this week, maybe there's a little bit extra, but definitely a lot to dive into here.
Yeah, we're excited for it. The biggest match of Champions League for this current week, obviously, boys, it was the PSG Man City game.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it would be more exciting maybe than it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, more storylines coming out of it. Obviously, the big one was Messi getting his first goal for PSG.
Yep.
Very timely goal.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I thought this game might be, more back and forth. The possession stats are kind of slated towards Man City. And, obviously, with PSG scoring their early goal, they were kind of, forced to play more defensive and kind of counterattack. And City's used to playing that style of, being the aggressor. But I feel like in this one, Man City had a difficult time actually penetrating the PSG defense.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that stood out for me. PSG's first goal, on one hand, you could say it was sloppy defending from Man City. But again, you put a ball in the box, going to cause havoc. I do still think they could have dealt with it a little bit better. But they got the go-ahead goal. But I was thinking about this. We can say how Man City had trouble penetrating. But I wonder how much of that is a compliment to Man City, where they constantly put teams in positions where they do have to park a little bit. And they're constantly pressing, and trying to find a way through when teams are really just relying on, hey, we're just going to sit back and counterattack. And then in this case, PSG, it worked with Messi picking up the ball in some space. And I got a little excited when he picked it up and went on the counter and scored. But yeah, I mean, they did have trouble penetrating, but kudos to them for putting a PSG in a position where they felt like they had to score on the counter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's strange for me with City. I'm not sure why they struggle so much against the bigger teams to break them down. I know it's kind of cliche to say because obviously they're massive teams, they're big teams, and they are really good. But for me, with the talent they have, even against a PSG, if they want to win, they need to find a way to be able to break those teams down much easier. Because even against Liverpool today,
yeah,
they struggled to open up some space and break them down. It was very, very difficult for them. So I think if they want to win Champions League or have a chance to win, they have to find a way where they can break these teams down more easily. Because it almost feels like they're banging their head against a brick wall over and over again.
Yeah.
Versus being very threatening, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and I was thinking about that as well. I was going to make a note how City have to be able to penetrate and really create chances against the big teams. I think you could really say that about a lot of different teams. But I feel like in City's case, in particular, some games they just struggle to create a lot of chances. And I think that's something they're really going to have to sort out. I don't know if that's the case where they're missing Aguero, especially when he was in his prime, where, it felt like no matter who they played, they were going to create chances. So that might be a case of them missing a striker right now.
Well, I feel like also in City's case, like you said before, they're so accustomed to being the attacking side. And, for them to have 75% of the possession at a time, it's nothing new, right? Or 70% of the possession, whatever you want to say. But I feel like when they do go against bigger sides like this, like a PSG or Liverpool or a Chelsea even, I think like when you go against a bigger side that have class defenders that know how to keep their structure and like well-coached teams, they do have a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if obviously they're playing against like a team like Watford this season or a team like Norwich or something, their defenders don't match up to the caliber of the attack that City has.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're going to have all that possession, plus they're going to be able to create chances on mistakes and being sloppy. But when they do face tougher sides that are, at the same caliber or, at the same level of play as them, I think they find it difficult. And I feel like PSG, even though there was a lot of crosses into the box, they dealt with everything pretty handily.
Right.
I mean, they did have a couple chances where Sterling, he probably should have scored off a header in the first half. And Donnarumma did come up pretty big sometimes. It did make some timely saves, but they weren't cases that like PSG seemed really threatened.
Yeah.
And at no point did I really think like, oh my God, City's going to score here and then go up ahead. And obviously Messi kind of put the game to bed with that world-class goal he got for PSG there.
Kind of just exemplifies what Messi's all about, Maybe a little bit quiet during the game and just picks up the ball in space, and he's obviously the last player you want to leave with space. And he just starts running at defenders, does a quick give and go. And the fact that he was able to place that with pressure, Laporte is all over him, and just, it was funny. He got the ball in that position. I had the feeling that there was no doubt that it was going to go in once he had time to shoot. And lo and behold, it did. So he's just showing that he still has it, even with his big move, and we'll see if he can keep it up with PSG.
Yeah. One thing I was just going to touch on, we already talked about this. If almost kind of feels like City has no plan B, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If they go to try and break down teams and they're getting frustrated, it's like they'll just keep doing the same thing until they make a mistake.
That's Chelsea of last year.
Yeah.
The most
Chelsea before Lukaku.
One of them, well, even before Tuchel came in, it was one of the most frustrating things to watch because just last year in particular, that was the first season with Timo Werner, and they just tried to use him in the wrong ways, and it was game after game. They're just trying the same thing. They couldn't score. Obviously, they had a poor start to the season. Case in point, their manager being fired halfway through. But obviously with City, that's not going to happen. But no, as a spectator, as a fan, it is difficult to watch because you expect these teams to score every game,
right?
And with the class and caliber of player that City has, I mean,
gotta find a goal.
The game today shows how quickly they can score. But
yeah,
no, I mean, in this case against PSG, it was. I give credit to Pochettino in getting his team ready for this game. It's probably the biggest match they've had this season so far. I think they're 6-0 or 7-0 so far in the league there in France. So clearly their biggest test, and they're able to live up to the hype and get ready for this game.
So we had a little bit of our controversy in this one, both kind of involving Milner. Mm-hmm. There's the one talk.
No, we're talking about Champions League.
We are.
Sorry.
Well,
do you want to transition?
I did want to talk about Milner with Liverpool and City when you talked about them today.
Oh, okay.
Because, but we can touch on that later because I want to get into VAR.
Oh yeah, we definitely will have some VAR talk. It wouldn't be a footy fan show if VAR wasn't in, front and center of the discussion.
Right.
No, quick. We'll just wrap Champions League first, and then we'll get into a juicy Premier League talk today. Chelsea and Juve, the other kind of premier match of Matchday 2 in Champions League. I feel like in this game, Chelsea kind of came out the same way that City came out against them previously in the Premier League, where they were very dominant. I think coming off the loss that they had to Man City, this was their bounce back game, and obviously their first game since. So Tuchel made some adjustments by bringing in Ruben Loftus-Cheek off the bench and Callum Hudson-Odoi off the bench, more of attacking roles. earlier than I thought he would. But again, Chelsea just couldn't solve the tough backline that Juventus provided. I mean, we know that Juve is obviously a historic side in Serie A, and they take defense very seriously there and kind of pride themselves on it. And they've had a difficult start to the season in the Serie A, but I feel like this game might also be kind of a turning point, because to be at home to Chelsea in Champions League off like the defending champions and keep them to having no goals scored and, you know, coming out the victor of this match, that's huge for Juve and kind of crushing for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And they obviously had to carry that on to the Premier League this weekend, which we'll get into later. But this game here was just very difficult to watch. Chelsea put a lot of pressure on them. Almost every chance was kind of, you know, pushed away by Szczesny, or didn't even make it to the back there because Juve is playing a high line. And came out at halftime, and whatever the coach there said to the players at Juve, they, you know, took it for granted and scored 10 seconds in the second half.
Yeah.
And kind of sat back and defended the rest of the game.
Yeah, I was honestly a little surprised with this result, but it just goes to show, you know, classic Italian defending. It's one of those things where defense wins championships. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously a big blow for Chelsea. You know, this early on in the campaign, getting a result like that. So we'll see where they take it from here, because being defending champs, I think these are obviously the type of games you have to win. Especially with Juve, who's been struggling in the Serie A this season. So we'll see what Tuchel does next as the campaign goes on.
Well, I'm shocked at both these. I really thought Chelsea and City were like the top teams in Champions League right now, and I don't know what. I'm actually shocked at Chelsea Juve. To be completely honest, it was not. I thought for sure. If anything, I was expecting a draw and like Juve to park the bus and frustrate Chelsea, but I was really expecting Chelsea to, you know, go 2-3 up easily against these guys. So I'm shocked about that. Very shocked about City. I thought for sure they'd be able to handle PSG. You know, was not expecting PSG to have a walk in the park, even though they are at home. So we'll have to see. I guess this kind of opens the floor. You know, it's really anyone's trophy at this point. Right now, I would have to put money on Bayern.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, with
That's safe money.
with what
At
they
this
did
point,
with what they did to Barcelona. You know, because obviously with this, Chelsea's not convincing. City, I'm not entirely sure. They haven't won it yet. So, you know, very tough to see either of these two. Like, I know it's still early. It's just one game. But I would expect both of them to win this type of game.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea for sure. I feel like the Man City and PSG game was obviously a lot more evenly matched and kind of a clash of titans when it comes to Champions League. But yeah, the Chelsea game is very frustrating to watch. I mean, I was obviously frustrated from the previous game against City and how they played and just literally created nothing.
Yeah.
But this game was even more frustrating because they actually did create stuff and did have more opportunities, but they just couldn't score.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't finish. Lukaku was getting barely any touches again for the second game in a row. He was getting frustrated. Players were getting frustrated. Tuchel was getting frustrated on the sideline. And this is also a game that didn't have Morata or Dybala playing in it for Juve. And they were still able to come out the win. Chiesa had a huge game.
As always.
Yeah, I mean, he knows when to show up, right? Like, he knows when to, you know, the spotlight's on him and he can really perform. So,
yeah.
I mean, credit to how Allegri had Juve set up. Yeah, like Joe said, like, it's going to be tough going forward, taking a loss like this. You never want it to be this early in the competition. But that being said, this early in the competition, you do have more games still remaining to bounce back. And,
yeah,
you know, they got to have 3 more. So hopefully they can come with positive results from that and be able to progress into the next round.
Yeah, I mean, just to mention about the finishing chances just in general, I think that's probably the most frustrated you could be, either as a fan or a coach or a player, because really, you know, creating chances is obviously, aside from scoring, but creating chances is really, you know, after you get to that point, really it's just up to your team and especially your strikers to just put those away. And, you know, you can do a million drills in training, but when it comes to game time, that's where you have to have the composure to actually finish off your chances. And I think it's one of those things where it's really tough to coach. It's just how you are as a player. So if you're constantly creating chances and you can't finish, it's kind of gets to the point where it's like, all right, what else do we have to do type thing? Because obviously tactics are working, your positioning is all working, and you're just not doing what you're supposed to do as either striker or as a team to put the game to bed.
I don't know, it's like demoralizing, and like you're trying to look for different ways and like who's going to step up and contribute. But
Yeah.
if no one can fill that role, or your manager doesn't make any adjustments mid-game, then you're just like stuck doing the same thing over and
Right.
over and over again. And then the defense is like, okay, thank you, come at us again. We're just going to knock it out of here and
Yeah.
restart the whole process. So, I mean, I've been in that role. I mean, I'm sure you guys have also been in that role before, where you just can't solve a defense, or you can't solve, like a formation or something. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's a huge pain in the ass.
It's one of the most frustrating things as a player, playing, creating a chance every 5 minutes, a good scoring chance, you can't score, game ends 0-0. It's extremely frustrating.
Well, talk about a team making a bounce back. Manchester United versus Villarreal. Man U really had to make a bounce back, obviously, after taking that loss to Young Boys in like the 93rd minute, whatever that was, in Matchday 1. So they kind of were behind the 8 ball from the get-go. And, I think I've given David De Gea a lot of criticism the last couple of seasons with his performance at Manchester United, and obviously with the talk of him joining Real Madrid or going somewhere else,
Right.
have been floating around forever. And I was kind of one saying, okay, then just go, because I think he overstayed his welcome a little bit for United. I think they were trying to shop him, and I think it was a good time a couple of seasons ago, because I think he was still at his peak in his prime. And yeah, I've been a big critic of him the last couple of seasons, but this game in particular, even though they did allow the 1 goal, this game I think he played outstanding.
Yeah.
And he made some huge saves for them, very timely stuff. And yeah, I think this might be a good bounce back game for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I remember that whole ordeal with De Gea when he was about to go to Real Madrid, and there was something with obviously the paperwork went through at like 12:01, had to be in at midnight, so the transfer didn't go through, and he was just at United, and he's been there ever since. I remember then he was probably one of the top goalkeepers in the world at that point. He was just doing super well for Man U. And since then, it's kind of just been, obviously decline in his skill. But, good for him stepping up in Champions League. But it's hard for me to talk on Man U in this game because a lot of their performance in this weekend, has a lot to do with what happened in this match, with what Ole said on what their tactics are with player rotation. So I can't wait to get into that later. But
I didn't see that.
So... Man U wins this game 2-1. Ronaldo scores a huge goal for them. This weekend comes, Ronaldo and Pogba are both starting on the bench.
Yeah.
So, I do get the sense where you want to rest players, and you want to have a rotation in your team. Obviously you want to get more players playing time. But, you come off this massive win. Your players are obviously on a high. No player is like, yeah, I'm okay with resting. Every player wants to play. Obviously as a coach, that's where you have to manage their actual fatigue and whatnot. But you're going into a massive game against Everton. Everton's having a hell of a season so far this year. And you're going to rest Ronaldo and Pogba right after this huge win. And then, obviously they didn't get the result they wanted. So
yeah,
I am for a lot with player rotation. I think City obviously do it really well. I don't think Man U is in a position where you have a massive game, players are on a high, going into a big game on the weekend, and then you do a player rotation with arguably your 2 best players. I don't know. That's really tough for me. Not sure why. If they were going to play against Watford or someone, towards the bottom of the table, then yeah, that would make sense. But, this is you say every game's a must win, but when you're playing a team that's right next to you in the table, I would never opt to put your 2 best players on the bench.
Yeah. Do you know if it was his call or, I mean, assuming it's not Ronaldo and Pogba's call.
No.
Yeah.
I highly doubt it.
I agree. And if you're going to rest them, I don't know if it's a game you have to win, like Pep, for example, he has a great player rotation, But if he needs De Bruyne's going to start
Right.
that game. You know what I mean? And if he's fatigued, he'll come off later. But I think it's way better to start them if you need them in a game, especially this game. You should have started Ronaldo and Pogba, and if they were fatigued, then you can always sub them off later, right?
Right.
I don't see if they're ready to play. Like, Ronaldo's a machine. He can play 2 games a week, probably, especially in his number 9 role. So I don't see much value in that.
In the game today, they did both come on as substitutes, but they came on early too.
Yeah.
When Ronaldo came on in like the 65th minute, I think.
Right.
Oh, no, sorry, 55th minute.
Yeah.
So like 10 minutes for Cavani after second half. Clearly, Solskjaer didn't see what he wanted out of him. In comes Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Pogba, same thing. 70th minute, Fred comes out, Pogba comes in. So like, I get resting some players here and there. I'm a huge proponent of like, if your squad's fit, you're playing.
Yeah.
Like if your best squad, if your best 11 is fit and ready to go, no knocks, whatever, no illness, no injury, you're starting in my game.
Yeah.
Because like every game's huge. Like we said before, like you should, win every game would be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to put the team out there to produce to win every single game.
Right.
Yeah.
In this case, against Villarreal, they did get lucky again. Maybe
Yeah.
let's call it lucky. 95th minute goal from Ronaldo.
Yeah.
I made a note saying that Alex Telles scored the equalizer goal for United. This is
Yeah.
his first goal in 26 appearances for him. I know he had an injury last season, so that kind of took him out of the play for a while. So good to see him getting in the squad and getting a chance to play and actually contributing with the goal, not just defensively. But yeah, Ronaldo, man, like
Just being Ronaldo.
he took one game off, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
He didn't score, and then comes back and scores this in Champions League.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can't count the guy out.
No, never. He's still got it. He's scoring, and I think, like I said before, this is. I feel like the more of the GOAT conversation is going to happen between him and Messi now, since they both had this big move, right? And especially with Ronaldo, he's doing all this in the EPL versus Messi being in the French league. No disrespect to the French league, but Ronaldo getting all the goals he's scoring, against some of the best teams in the world, most competitive league in the world. It's really making the argument tough between Ronaldo and Messi at the moment.
Because I was all for Messi all the time.
Yeah, so was I.
And now it's just, man, but like he just went back to the Premier League, he's just getting these goals. I don't even know, like, does he only score scrappy goals? But I think it's just his ability to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it's his knowledge of the game.
It's his knowledge of the game and his athleticism to always be in the right spot just to get there. And yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to see how things transpire, how Messi does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's going to be tough for Man U to win Champions League. I think a big telltale sign for me is going to see how they do in the Manchester Derby. That's going to be big because I still don't know how Ronaldo's going to do when he's playing against a team that's going to have between 60 and 75% possession, I would assume. So we'll see. It's going to be big to see how he does with very little service. I'm assuming he's going to have little service against City. Obviously, we're not going to know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it's really going to make a stamp on where Man U's at against, obviously, the big clubs. So I do still think it's going to be tough, but you never know what can happen. Ronaldo could just decide to have the game of his career, score a hat trick, and then win Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, he could easily do that. I mean, looking at the Champions League at the group stage here, I still feel like United, even though they are in third place and that whole group is still kind of tight in a way, I think they are still favored to come out of it on top.
Yeah.
Or maybe not on top, but at least in the 1 or 2 spot. After that, though, when you start getting into like the real nitty-gritty of the competition, I do feel like their depth might come into question.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked at length last weekend about Jay and Sancho and Lingard not getting their opportunities.
Right.
And I think, I could be a dead horse, forever. It's going to be the same conversation. I think they should be playing a lot more.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they got Atalanta next week, or next game, sorry, for Champions League. Maybe that's another game that they could step up and play. But it's like you have to give these guys the opportunity to perform and like to get a few games under their belt in order to develop them, obviously, and then give that depth a little bit more oomph going forward.
Yeah.
Because like if you just keep playing guys like in games that are like pointless games, a game against Crystal Palace, a game against Norwich, a game against Newcastle, whatever, those aren't really competitive matches. Yeah, they might play really well, but they're playing against sides that aren't as competitive. So when you kind of, like you said, Santo last week about throwing them in the fire, like right into like the heart of the games, that's going to really develop how your bench develops.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen it every season. Match week 26, match week 31. There's injuries coming into play.
Yeah.
You're getting out of the Christmas break. You're getting deeper in competitions. This depth is going to come into play, and we've seen it before. Not always the most skilled teams win, but the most fit. The injuries, the teams that do get a break once in a while from injuries, and the teams that are really, really deep are the ones that come out the victor more times than not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes back to them having Pogba and Ronaldo on the bench. You want to develop a deep squad so that when you get to maybe these big games, you have a player rotation where it's okay if those two sit on the bench. But with what Man U's been doing, they're not in a position where they can start Pogba and Ronaldo on the bench for a big game.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't been developing players like Lingard and Sancho up to this point. So now it's like, all right, you guys been sitting on the bench here, like now go play this game.
Yeah.
You want to get them involved in the games that they could have been developed in. And I don't know. I'm not a manager. Obviously, Oli knows a lot more than I do, but to me, it just seems very strange, and it's not something I would have predicted for that game.
And you saw with Sancho's chance in the Everton game, just completely scuffed it. Like, if he was at Dortmund right now, that would have probably been buried.
Yeah.
Just not comfortable in his own skin in Man U, maybe, and just nothing. That's when you make a signing like that. That's what he's there for.
Right.
You're at a great spot. You got to finish. But maybe his confidence is just down. Who knows?
Yeah, if he was at Dortmund, he'd have like 6 games at least now under his belt for this season.
Yeah.
Maybe some Champions League games.
Would have finished.
Yeah, he would have been way more in form, right?
Oh, yeah.
Only other thing I want to talk about, Champions League.
Yeah, I think I know who's that's coming.
Is Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Our
Here we
Sheriff
go.
boys.
Top of the group with Real, Inter, and Shakhtar.
Man,
So
Amazing.
that... I saw
I told them.
You did. I caught the highlight pack for that game, and like, thank God I did. Because like,
gosh.
I don't know the stats of that game, but it had to at least be like 15 chances on goal for Real Madrid.
Real Madrid, I think
Yeah.
they had 30 some chances.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it was 11 or 15. I think somewhere around there, chances on target. But
Wild.
yeah, just you have one of those games like this, the games you dream about when you're an underdog going to go play against a massive team, and the fact that they score first and then Real Madrid, 31 shots, 11 on target, like 76% possession, 705 passes for Real, 237 for Sheriff. It's one of those games, right? You score first and you're thinking, all right, we got the goal, and then you get scored on. And that's, where I think the true character of the team comes out, to go ahead and then get it tied up against a team like Real, where obviously you're still a big underdog. And then Sebastian Till with the goal of his life.
I know, what a way to win it.
Yeah, with just the volley. Just we're watching a little replay of it here, just from outside the box, one step, left-footed, outside. Just my gosh, goals you dream about.
That's a dream,
Yeah, like half volley.
Just perfect.
I don't even know how many
Literally
times I watched that replay, but
Good for them, man. Good for them.
Oh,
And
so
that goalie is going to get signed somewhere too, for sure. I don't know who the goalie is, but he's going to get signed somewhere. He's going to have to after that performance there.
Yeah,
He played so well, and I mean, I know they got like destroyed in every stat possible, but
13 corners to 0.
yeah, I mean that goalkeeper stood out for me a lot. He played really well.
So shout out to Sheriff in the Moldovan League.
Everyone is rooting for the Leicester story.
The Leicester story.
But it's in Champions
I
League.
know that's great. That would be amazing.
Like, I mean, Moldova's Moldova. Like, you win the Moldovan league, you might get like $10 million in like a cow or something. But like, you progress in Champions League, like that's huge. I think it's probably more money than they would actually get from winning the title there.
I think like those 2 wins are huge.
Who do they play next? Is their next
They
game
have
against
Inter.
Shakhtar or Inter?
They have Inter next. They beat Shakhtar already.
Okay. So yeah, they win. They gotta give themselves a chance.
Seriously.
You know?
They're right here. Yeah, they play at Inter at the San Siro
Okay.
end of October. So
Tune in for that game.
I mean, that's
for sure.
boys. Just to round out Champions League, I mean, 5-1 win for Liverpool against Porto. Not much to really comment about it, to be honest. It was an onslaught from the get go.
Yeah, comfort one for them.
Yeah. The only note I'll make is that the goalie that played for Porto here, newly promoted guy from their B team. This is his first, big test of like the first division, like playing in Portugal in the first division. Obviously, we're playing in Champions League. 22 years old, young kid. He made a few mistakes that really cost them. He played a little sketchy, I might add, but he also came up big at some points too. So Diogo Costa, hopefully he gets a little bit better and a little more confident maybe in his play. But I mean, Liverpool just, they sniffed that out real quick that he was probably like a new shaky goalie, and they were taking shots from everywhere on this kid.
Yeah, which to me it's nuts, and I know everyone's at like a different spot in their career. Just like Donnarumma is like the same.
Yeah,
I don't know where that kid came from.
Yeah,
he just started from Milan at 16. He's like the guy at Italy, just doing his thing.
Well, he's finally getting a shot now at PSG too.
Yeah,
hopefully
he played, and it was nuts. And I think it goes to show, like, great, whatever they did at Milan, good on them, because he just comes in like for a PSG game against City, and just like
cold, eh? Like,
just call it, just like, hey, just do your job.
Yep.
Just no intimidation, just nuts. Very good to have.
All right, guys, let's get into the real stuff here. Liverpool Man City.
Oh boy.
Biggest match of the season?
So far.
Yeah, so far.
Almost had a twin moment there.
Yeah.
So far, absolutely. And, it could be you can always say, this is a telltale sign of what could happen this season. But then again, Man City were how far down in the table last year at Christmas and came back and went on a win streak. But it made for a really exciting game. Both teams, I don't think, were anywhere close to their best with, all the mistakes that were happening. First 30 minutes, there was almost nothing going on.
Yeah, it was a bit of a stinker.
Chances, yeah. And then we had, I think, one hard challenge that came in and kind of livened things up a little bit. But, yeah, it got really, really interesting in the second half with a lot to talk about with VAR.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. So, I want to hear what you guys think. Milner, red card. Well, second yellow that would have led to a red card on Bernardo Silva.
Oh, when he stuck his leg out there?
Yeah, when he just dangles his leg out.
Yeah. At that point in the match, I mean, enough time's already passed after getting his first, where I think the referee could have easily given it to him. Like, the way that we saw it, too. Like, so he got the yellow card in the 42nd minute. So it was in the first half.
Right.
And
clear yellow card, just ripping to the ground.
And
14 years older than him.
The second foul that took place was probably at least halfway through the second half, maybe in the 65th minute, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
To me, that's a clear second yellow.
Yeah.
I mean, to stop the progression like that abruptly.
Yeah.
I think Bernardo Silva like cut between two players.
Yeah, and he was like out, like
completely out of the play
and just stuck out, and like he tripped them on. Like it was.
Yeah, he stuck his leg out.
Wasn't no attempt on the ball, clearly stopping a break.
Yeah.
In the other team's final third,
and that's already coming off him getting lucky in the first half.
Yeah.
Not picking up, a yellow and a penalty, or possible penalty.
Yeah, with Foden.
Yeah,
with
Foden in the first there. So
trip thing there.
From that point, he was kind of already under the radar of the referee, and then for him to pick up a yellow card anyways in the first half for a separate challenge, plus add this on top of it, I mean, that would have put the game on its head because, like I said, that was probably around the 60-something minute at that point. And, after that game, it was already 1-0 for Liverpool at that time. And then the substitution came on. And, that could have turned the game on its head for sure.
Yeah. And Pep, understandably, just livid.
Oh, yeah.
It comes off.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was good.
Well, because
that was good.
For sure, if it's anywhere but Anfield.
Yeah, we said that, yeah. If it was at City, that call's going the other way.
It's so tough. I mean, that's for sure a second yellow. 100%. So it's just, I don't know if it's a case of the referee just being intimidated from the home crowd, but like I'm trying to see a reason why it wouldn't be. And,
Yeah.
If
They want to give a red.
it had all the makings of a yellow card, so I'm not entirely sure what happened there. So understandably, Pep was pissed.
So, like we said before, though, the game was 1-0 at that point already. Sane goal in the 58th minute. Followed up quickly just 10 minutes later by Phil Foden goal. We were talking how Milner had kind of a very exciting game just on his personal account, whether it be at both ends of the field.
Yeah.
And, he got exposed this match.
Oh, yeah. His age
Big
is
time.
definitely showing.
Yeah.
Which was strange because they did it well in the first half. Like the second part of the first half, they were just literally flooding the ball to Foden, and he was taking on Milner, and it was disaster city for him. The second half, I didn't see it as much, and I'm just curious what happened there. I'm not sure if they overloaded that side or what was going on, but I would have just kept feeding Foden the ball and just having him run it, picking it up like further back in their third, and then just running it Milner. So I'm not sure where that was, and you kind of saw it because Liverpool started to grow into the game, and that's why they got their goal. So not sure what happened. I'm not sure what happened in the dressing room, but I would have kept doing that. But good it was a good goal by Sane.
Mane.
Oh, yeah, that's Sane?
Yeah, you put
Oh,
Sane.
Dang.
Mane.
By Mane.
Dang, autocorrect. Mane. Sadio Mane.
And then Foden's goal. That was tight. That was a really tight finish by him. Jesus just draws him, puts it in for him. I thought his touch let him down. I honestly thought the chance was gone. First touch taken away for goal, and then he just slides it in. You did think Alisson could do better, though, eh?
I did, yeah.
In that one.
Just because, from the angle that Foden took after that first touch that he had, there's no way for him to go but far post.
Right.
And, it's just so frustrating because in my personal case, whenever I try and go far post, the goalie wasn't going far post.
Yeah.
And it gets stopped. And that's just like a legit perfect shot. But Alisson even went down for it. He didn't go down to his side. He kind of did the old style hockey goalie, hockey goalie save and try and kick the leg out. But you gotta be. As a goalkeeper, you always get told not to get beat near post. But in his case, I feel like he could have maybe started already leaning to his left, as if he was gonna go make the far post save.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Foden had a tight finish. It was 2 inches inside the post. It was a beautiful shot. But I feel like Alisson just didn't do enough to, make the effort seem like he was putting it out there to try and make the save as well as he possibly could have.
Yeah.
And we talked about it first half, saying how stagnant the game was for the first 30 minutes and how badly this game needed a goal. And then within a span of 23 minutes, we had 4 goals.
Yeah.
So
second half
just exploded with play. Whatever Klopp said to the boys at halftime must have really, got in their heads because they came out as the aggressors in the second half. Obviously, Mane scoring only 13 minutes after halftime there, and then Mo Salah gets him back in the game again, gets him ahead.
Just goal of the season.
Yeah, in the notes here, I just put Mo Salah, ladies and gentlemen, because that's all you can say.
Yeah.
If you didn't see the goal, it'd be hard to explain because of what he ended up doing to create the goal, but just a solo effort, kind of like vintage Salah.
Yeah.
When he made his mark 4 seasons ago, whatever it was for Liverpool, when he had that record-breaking season for them and tallied 30-something goals, he was just exposing wingers, defenders, center backs, like everybody left and right.
Yeah.
And I feel like he still does that at times. It still does show, but he is getting up there in age a little bit too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And teams are adjusting to the way he plays and like his pace, so it doesn't happen as often.
Right.
But I mean, this was just an act of brilliance by him.
Yeah. No, you don't have many players just beat 4 City players and then beat Ederson with your weaker foot. But yeah, I mean, just the balance he had, the movement, he turned
Laporte inside.
Turned Laporte inside out on
literally
that,
did.
and then beat Ederson. Like, good for him. Yeah, I know. There's been a lot of people who say he's a one-season wonder. I think he came to the Premier League. Obviously, he was there before with Chelsea, but he came at a different time in his career when obviously there was a lot of improvement that happened. And I just don't think teams are ready for him. Now, obviously, with him being there for a few seasons, like you said, teams are a little more accustomed to how he plays. But, he still proved that he can be a threat when it seems like there's no chance, really, to create something out of nothing.
Hey, honestly, I just thought about it. It's almost a similar goal to what Eden Hazard did to Liverpool 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's almost the exact same goal. No, good on him. And we were talking about like his style, the closest thing to Messi. Like, I think so. Maybe it would have been Hazard when he was in his prime in Chelsea.
Yeah.
But Mo Salah's kind of taken over that role. I would say so.
Yeah, I agree.
Like when you have a player with that caliber, like you don't give him a set position. You just say this is how we're going to play, and then you can kind of go do whatever you want. And we're starting to see that more and more. I think as we watch the EPL, like with players like Son. And like Hazard was like that player with Chelsea. The way even Chelsea plays now, like Mason Mount kind of is that player with just a kind of rover, like with not really much defensive responsibility. You just go create, and like we'll fill the space for you. Like if you get caught out or something, and like to give him that freedom to switch left and right, play up the middle sometimes. I mean, I know Liverpool does that even with Mane as well, and with Diego Jota or whoever's playing that other role, but Salah has been able to kind of master just roaming the field and creating space for himself with his pace, with his skill.
Yeah.
And it's great to see it on display because, like I said, we haven't seen him really break out. And like his celebration too, he was like so powerful with the celebration, so pumped, so passionate with it.
Surprised the shirt didn't come off.
Yeah.
He has 3 yellow cards this season.
Is it one more and he gets the game, or is it 5?
I don't know what the rule is, actually. But yeah, all 3 came just from celebrations. But yeah.
I mean, like in the Sheriff match, we talked about the goal scored there in the last minute and like what a way to win a game.
Oh, yeah.
That's the goal that he scored here was worthy of a game winner.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but
not to be outdone
by the KDB.
Who had a bit of an off match from our standpoint too. I think.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, definitely not his best match by any means.
Him and Rodri had a great block. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Bernardo Silva was definitely the one carrying the midfield for City.
Yeah, that move he had to beat, what was it, 4 or 5
gosh,
Liverpool players. Put Foden in, which I think Foden could have finished if he did a little chip on Alisson. But that run was just goes to show us how low-key good Bernardo Silva is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does his job, but if he gets called to it, he's capable of doing some pretty impressive things on the field.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it now. We're going to use low-key good as like one of our catchphrases. Because you said it, I think, almost every pod. Like LKG, like we call it that or something?
Yeah, LKG.
Yeah, LKG.
Like LKG of the match.
Bernardo Silva was his first LKG.
Bernardo Silva. I know Foden and Mo Salah both got man of the match.
Yeah.
But Bernardo Silva was just, I don't even know.
Yeah, so we'll do that every week now. We'll do that. We'll do like the LKG of the weekend or something.
LKG, all right. Here we go.
All right.
Just the low-key good player of the weekend. Kind of the unsung hero of the match that stood out to us.
I like it.
I mean, I feel like just for our personal sake, too, we could call Bernardo Silva every single week because I think that's what we do.
Well, it is true because you never see him really try and do anything that's really far out there. He just does his job on the field. Always really good. You don't see him make a lot of mistakes. But just when he gets called to it, he'll be able to produce something when he needs to. So it's actually interesting for me. I know Pep, loves the guy. I am a little surprised where maybe he's not putting more of those positions, more advanced, to create stuff around the box, because that's what City's missing right now, I think. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see how he would do in a more advanced role, maybe in that top false nine position instead of Foden there. But
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd do well, to be honest.
I feel like he's
Not
just
sure.
he's
'Cause
more
he-
useful in other
Yeah,
positions on the
because
field.
he started in the front three at City. I remember when he
That's like
first
one of
got
the wings.
He
right?
was on one of the wings, and he was like, "Oh, he's pretty good." And then Pep tried him in the middle. I forget which game it was, and that was just he's like, "Oh, like this is Bernardo Silva's role," because he was just such a creator. He could see those through passes, kind of what he did with Foden. So I think that's where I'd utilize him. But yeah, like I said, he was kind of carrying the midfield for them, but should have got Milner a red card, obviously.
Yeah, he should have
Yeah.
for sure. Unfortunate for them. This game did finish 2-2 in a draw. Really exciting game. After the first 30 minutes, let's say.
yeah,
Just put a little asterisk next to that. If you're watching the game on replay or something, skip to like the 32nd minute.
Yeah,
Save yourself some
Basically.
time.
yeah.
But no, I mean, like you look at the match facts from this game, and it's just like literally as tight as it could be, and that's what we love to see. I
Yeah.
mean, like I'm kind of getting over the games that are 68% possession for one side, and 10 shots to 3, and passes are getting double the amount of passes and all this. You look at these facts here from the game, and it's literally neck and neck.
yeah,
And it showed in the match. It was back and forth. There was times that City did hold up possession, and they did do their little tiki-taka around the box. It was a bit of a midfield battle for the first half of the game. Liverpool also had their chances where they tried to create as well, like with more possession. But Liverpool's kind of like a run and gun team.
mm-hmm.
Like I said before, they kind of play almost like a mid-level team with world-class players, because they play that high line, they press like no other team does, like no other big club does, and they have the caliber players that can finish. Because that's most of the times when like a lower side does do like a pressing play in a game. When they do get the chances, they might score 1 out of 10 chances that the ball gets turned over, or like a fast break happens, or a counterattack happens. Liverpool plays that style, but with Mo Salah up top, and Sadio Mane, and Firmino, and just world class guys that can score. And when that happens, clearly they can perform. And I mean, they didn't play like as a lower side, obviously, in this game, but for the first little bit, they did let City take it to them, and just kind of defended well if they can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was run and gun in the second half from both sides, and even City's goals, they came from broken plays. They weren't high possession plays. They were maybe 5-10 passes that took place, and then they scored. It wasn't their usual 30 passes and then a pass across the net and someone taps it in.
Yeah, I think City just needed a wake up call and really try and press Liverpool and catch them. And in their case for City, thankfully, they were able to.
From my personal selfish standpoint, this is probably the best result that I could have wanted.
as a Chelsea fan,
Just with the way that my team played on Saturday. So Chelsea kind of sealed their fate with this one on Saturday, with coming with the win against Southampton, 3-1 victors. And like I said, selfishly, I was hoping the game on Sunday between Liverpool and City would finish 0-0 or just in a draw some way, so that Chelsea can remain up top, which is end up what happening. So
perfect weekend if you're a Chelsea fan.
I'm a happy fellow. Just saying how, not trying to foreshadow what I was talking about earlier, but Chelsea coming off 2 games, like 2 losses, which I think back-to-back losses is the first time that's happened to Tuchel since he's taken over since January. They came out this game with kind of a fresh lineup. Ben Chilwell, Ruben Loftus-Cheek making the first Premier League appearances of the season. Trevor Chalobah starting in the midfield this game instead of starting on defense like he has in previous occasions. And they did it again. They put the 2 strikers up top. It was Werner and Lukaku. This one, I mean, I feel like this way, in this game here, they kind of did take more advantage of having 2 strikers up top, because they did create a lot more chances.
Yeah.
In their previous games against City and Juventus, it wasn't working for them. I mean, there was just lack of movement. And again, those are 2 quality sides. Juve and City. When you go against two sides like that know how to defend well and that are able to close the gaps and eliminate space for you to run, it's going to be difficult for anybody. A team like Southampton, like I said before, if it's a kind of a side that's not as skilled or not as structured, you can get away with it. And clearly this game was the bounce back that Chelsea needed. They had a little bit of help.
Yeah.
But this is the bounce back that they needed to get back to winning ways.
Yeah, no, it could have went south. Well, not really south, but like you said, they did have a lot of help with some events that happened in the game. I mean, they also got really unlucky, I think, with the goal that got disallowed with Werner at the start.
Right.
I don't know, just a lot to talk about with the goal. I mean, we're gonna get into a little VAR rant here, but the whole change of play things. You have Azpilicueta come on the side with this foul right here, which it is a foul.
But is it a foul?
I think it is. I mean, you see he does clip him there. So I guess I'm not surprised it was a foul. The fact that it's given, fine. But then they go down the pitch and a cross gets put in and goes past everyone.
Yeah.
All right, and they have to keep it from coming in, right? And then the ball comes back, and then Werner scores, and then they call it back for the original foul on Azpilicueta. So it gets into this gray area of VAR about the phase of play. It's like, a foul happened in the same phase of play that Chelsea scored on. I think there has to be more conversation around when a phase of play starts and stops, because I think the whole notion that all because a team hasn't touched the ball yet, that it's the same phase of play.
Yeah.
I think that's not 100% accurate for me, because you can still have a chance to clear it all because you haven't touched the ball yet.
Yeah. And I think that's what's frustrating about VAR, because we talked about this and I'll talk about it again. Because with the Liverpool game, like way back in the day when Liverpool won, and basically that was turned out to be the deciding factor in the league, like Alexander-Arnold's handball goes to VAR, doesn't get called for whatever reason. We talked about how that's what's frustrating. Like, what are you guys looking at? Why is it not a handball? But then they went and scored. They don't have the foresight to be like, it's the same phase of play. And like the new rule for the handball is like, if it touches your hand and you go score, like what it was back then, like it's supposed to get called off if it hits anyone's hand. That's how it was back then. So the fact that we're seeing they're not making, I guess, how can I say it? They're making decisions looking at the same screen that everyone else is looking at, and they're still making these mistakes, and it's so unclear to everyone. I think that's what's frustrating, because they're contradicting some of the rules, I guess. So I think that's what's most frustrating when we talk about VAR.
Yes. There's no clear cut, like black and white answer. It's literally whatever the referee's discretion is on that day.
Mm-hmm.
And it differs per person. It differs per influence. It differs per mindset of like what you think's a foul, what you think's a handball. And it's just, it's not a fair way of doing things.
Yeah. Well, and even in the Liverpool game, we were talking about how Milner tripped Foden. It was clearly a foul.
Silva? Or no, when he tripped
Foden.
The possible penalty.
Yeah.
Where, granted, Foden went down late, but you could tell, like, he tried to stay on his feet, but he couldn't. He couldn't get the ball, so he goes down. And it sucks for players because now you have to go down to get the foul.
I know. And this is what we've tried to avoid.
Yeah. And what I'm interested to know is like, if Foden, because Foden ended up staying on his feet, would they have called it back for a foul? Maybe, but probably not, even though everyone knows it should have been a foul. Mm-hmm. But, it was outside the box, so VAR can't intervene.
I hate that rule.
But if they gave a PK and then reviewed it and went back and saw it was outside the box, it's like, oh no, it's free kick outside the box.
And it is a foul.
Yeah, it's very strange. I kind of get why it's like that, but it's still very, very strange. And like I said, it'd be very frustrating because if Foden doesn't go down, VR would still look at it and be like, there's like
Not
not
enough
enough there.
there.
Which so you can't have it both ways. You can't put in these rules and want players to stay on their feet when something like that can happen, but you're not going to give a PK for it. Like, what are they going to do? You know?
I think one of the things that frustrates me the most too about this particular case is that this might be my bias, but I personally don't think that was even a foul.
Yeah.
I think that might have been just like a tangling of legs between the two players, or even just, the legs getting caught out between the defender on his own. Like, it's so hard to tell because the only camera angle that's shown is from like the opposite end of the field. Like, it's literally from like Chelsea's end line, zoomed all the way in towards like Southampton's end. And that's like the one shot that they used. And I'm pretty sure as far as it goes, like whatever they're looking at for VAR is what we're also seeing on the TV. It's like that's the kind of good part. Like, we're seeing the exact same pictures. They don't have like hidden cameras somewhere where they're seeing a completely different angle. And I told you guys earlier, like, I've seen video replays so much just because of like NFL.
Yeah.
And their rule there is that if it's not a very concise way to overturn what was called on the field, then they don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be like very concise, very clear. If they don't have the proper camera angle and they can't make sure, like, like in football, if the ball like hit the ground first or fumbled or it's incomplete, then they just don't do it. They keep the play on the field as it was.
Right.
Which was in this case a goal. This was called a goal. My boy, Mike Dean, is the VAR official for this game.
Favorite guy.
He gets his bald head involved and, tells the referee to take a look at it. I think this might be actual foul. A few seconds earlier, almost a minute earlier. I don't know, by the time Werner actually scored. At least 30 seconds probably.
Yeah,
the foul
it was
took
a
place.
good amount of time.
So go back, take a look at it. This is actual foul. This is what I think's a foul. What do you think it is?
Yeah.
Having that conversation with the referee on the field, and he makes the decision. Okay, yeah, it's actual foul, and away we go.
Yeah, I mean, a cross went in, and all because no player on Southampton touched it. I'm not sure that qualifies as it still being the same phase of play, because they still had a chance to clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then Chelsea had, they had to keep it in from it going out, and they had to put another cross in, and then they score off that.
Yeah.
And again, Southampton had a chance to clear. Like, I don't know what the, I guess, fine print of the rule is where whether a team has to touch the ball, but
I don't think they do, and it's very. That's what I mean. It's very ambiguous because we're looking at it from our angle. One, I was agree with Andrew. I don't think it was a foul. Everything looks worse in slow motion, and
that's a thing too.
And even looking at it in slow motion, I'm like, there's not enough. There's not enough there whatsoever. He didn't go down from Azpilicueta slightly touching his foot. That's not why he went down. I was looking at his arm because I thought that's where the foul was when he like pulled him to the ground, but there was not enough there either.
Yeah. Well, sorry, we're gonna get into that too shortly with Ward Pros here. Sorry, do you got anything else to say on that? I want to get into the slow motion thing.
Well, no, I was just even with Ward Prowse with the slow motion, it looks a lot worse in slow motion because you pause it at the worst instance, and you're not looking at the whole, series of events as it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, here's Ward Prowse with his foot on Jorginho's leg, but if you look at it in real time, he didn't go flying in with his. Like, yeah, his studs were up, but it wasn't like, some other fouls we've seen where players go flying in. I can see why it was a red card, but I think I could see why he would feel hard done by on that one.
Yeah. Well, what about you? Do you think red card?
No.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think, like you said, showing it in slow motion makes it look a lot worse than it is. The ball, it was a poor ball into Jorginho, and he goes in to try and make a tackle. And, like you said, he didn't come flying in. He's running towards Jorginho, sees the ball short and goes and tries to make a slide for the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And clips Jorginho. And, I would be very surprised if anyone would say, he was out of control there.
Yeah.
Because he was clearly in control when he was making that slide tackle. He wasn't going in with any excessive force, so
It wasn't excessive force. There was no real intent to injure or anything like that. Yeah. It was the only thing I'm seeing is and his studs were up, but they weren't off the ground.
No.
It wasn't even his whole foot. It was the top of his studs on Jorginho's ankle. And that's what I mean. They're looking at it slow motion, looking at it in a silo, what's happening. It's but it's not like Jorginho has balls running at, it's a bad pass and they're putting it on a high press and he's sliding from, how many feet away. He's going in with one boot. It's not even off the ground. It seems very, very harsh on him to do that.
Yeah, and even that position on the field too.
Yeah.
In his case, he didn't really have to even make the challenge.
Yeah.
You look at it that way too, but in no way do I think that's a red card. I think the referee on the field, again, he was very competent. He made the decision for yellow. I think that was good enough. Mm-hmm. Mike Dean getting involved again, calling over to the VAR tent and taking a second look at it, second opinion. Mike Dean probably made the decision for him because he's pompous, and red card is shown to the captain for Southampton. Not warranted. Coming not very soon after picking up a goal. Also, he tied the game. Clumsy challenge by Ben Chilwell in the box.
No complaints about
that.
No
complaints. I mean, you can't be doing that. He got beat easily. Again, this is his first start in the Premier League this season. I think only his second appearance in total, so maybe he was a little rusty. He got beat really easy on that side. But what we're going to do, it's a penalty. Ward-Prowse converts on it. And then, the next installment of the VAR controversy comes into play. I think around the table here, it's not red card worthy.
I mean, and it changes the whole complexion of the game. You have Southampton goes down. They already have a tough game, and now you have to face Chelsea with 10 men. And Chelsea took full advantage as the game went on.
And like you said, that red card really did change the game because ever since Ward-Prowse did score that goal, the flow of the game was kind of in Southampton's favor now.
Yeah. And
Chelsea was finding it difficult to, continue playing the way that they were up until that point by creating chances. And, the intensity of the game kind of just really picked up. And it was difficult until, the red card happened. And then from that point on, Chelsea just, put the pedal to the metal and just went, full head on at Southampton.
Yeah, and your boy got a goal.
Yeah, so Timo, man. Timo.
I'm rooting for him, man. Well,
so am I.
Well, I know you are because you're biased, but you also get super frustrated with the guy.
Yeah.
Understandably so. But
I root for him in spite of him.
It's tough love to make him better.
It is.
But yeah, it's good to see him get on the score sheet. He works really hard. He's got a pretty good attitude.
I'll give him that. He works his ass off in the game. He runs a lot. And there are times where he does make a run and it doesn't pay off for him, or he doesn't receive the ball, or something just happens and it doesn't go his way. So I'll give him that credit there. I think it's just lack of finishing.
Yeah.
Because that's what he was known for coming from Leipzig. He was a finisher. He was a goal scorer. And coming to last year, all that hype was there with him. The price tag was there with him. And he just didn't perform. And I'm still waiting for that Timo Werner to show up that we thought he was. But if he can contribute in little bunches, that's fine. We have Lukaku. He's there to take the weight off his shoulders now. Lukaku's going to bear a lot of the pressure that he was taking. So, if he can, notch in a few goals here and there. Again, a goal like this is huge, timely.
Yep.
84th minute. Did you guys see the pass that Ross Barkley made to Azpilicueta? Set the goal up.
Oh,
he hasn't played, and he comes on and makes a pass like that.
Yeah, another guy who's kind of been in the weeds there for Chelsea last couple seasons. Arguably one of Everton's best players at the time.
Yeah, he was really solid for them.
Making that big move to Chelsea 3 seasons ago now, let's say. A lot of hype around it, a lot of talk. I don't think he was the player that Chelsea was looking for. A great addition to the team. But at that point, I don't think he was going to receive the same amount of playing time he did at Everton. It's like Everton, he was like the number 10, right? He was like the playmaker, first guy on the sheet. You can count on him in like big games and whatever. But with Chelsea, you got Jorginho,
You have a lot of
Conte,
players.
Kovacic, like just everyone, filling in that void. So I think he had a hard go. He made it work. He made it worth his while though when he got loaned out to Villa last year. Played a lot of games there. Obviously, he helped Villa get top 10 performance last season, and this is his first Premier League appearance for Chelsea over a whole season. And to come in literally in the 83rd minute and then play one of the nicest passes you'll see a minute later to set up the goal for Chelsea there, I mean, that's huge. And he was like one of the first guys to jump on the pile too to celebrate. Like he was one of the first guys in there, and
Yeah, it was big for him.
yeah, I'm sure he's gonna get it from the boys, and they really appreciate him being back on the side and contributing when he can. And then Ben Chilwell, 89th minute,
The madness.
he made up for his earlier foul, I guess, by scoring
Yeah.
strange goal.
I mean, tough finish for him.
Yeah,
Bouncing, and he does it on the volley. He's got to reach with his left with the ball bouncing away from him to put it back towards goal. And this is where I really like goal line technology. I mean, this is one thing I think EPL's gotten right, because I think even if you go back to several seasons ago, I don't think that would have been called a goal.
probably not. No, it was so tight.
Definitely not called a goal. And
So, good that gets called, and yeah, great finish, but crazy events that led up to that
but
goal.
hit the post, hit the crossbar.
Yeah, it was post from Lukaku, crossbar pass with Aqueta, and then like fading away from the play, he half volleys it from like the weirdest angle you'll see. I mean, to hook his body around to make that play,
Yeah.
that's crazy. He did that.
Yeah.
Very difficult attempt, but I mean, good effort too by the goalkeeper to get back in the play to try and make the save. But like you said,
Yeah.
VAR finally. That's not even VAR. It's just goal line
No,
technology.
that's
That's just the
That's
chip
like
in the ball,
tennis,
isn't it?
Hawkeye.
Yeah, I think that's technically called Hawkeye,
Very standard.
or the same technology as
Yeah.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So,
It's only got. I think it's gotten wrong once with the Villa. What was the Villa Burnley game or something last season or 2 seasons ago?
Is that the foul of the goalkeeper
It was
from
a
the
foul on
cross?
goalie, and he was holding the ball, and it was in the net.
It was in the
against
net,
post,
yeah.
and it was so. I mean, and Hawkeye came out and made an apology from that. They're like, that's like a 1 in a million thing you would get wrong, but it's been good, obviously.
Well, they got it wrong.
yeah. Yeah, obviously been right 99.999% of the time.
It's not good enough.
Well, it's better than when you have Frank Lampard take a shot from half in the Euro Cup and it goes
Oh boy.
4 feet in the net, and they can't call it because the linesman's at half.
Which I don't understand. Even back then, like there's people watching the game. Like there's
80,000 people watching the
there's
game.
there's 80,000 people, but even back then, why wasn't there a ref watching the game,
I know.
watching the replays, and who would see that and be like, "Oh, like I got the angle from behind the net, like you can see us." Why did I have to wait for goal line technology?
Because back then they were extremely stubborn, I think, still. And they were even more old school back then, obviously, than they are now. That was probably 2008 or something.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was the 08 Euro, I think, or 2010 World Cup, maybe. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, that
That's where it
case in
started.
particular, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because they showed the replay a million times. Even like on the stadium
Yeah.
and the
screen,
Yeah.
they're showing the replay on like the Jumbotron. It's like a 50-foot TV. And the referee just had to look up and say, "Oh,
I know.
that actually went in."
Yeah, I can imagine where you're like as a lineman.
I've always
just
wondered that.
Looking at it's like, okay, I can clearly see that went in.
Oh wow, we missed that one. We really missed that one, boys?
It's a technicality. They don't have the authority to overturn a call
They don't have the authority,
off the
bro.
jumbo screen.
They don't have the authority to overturn their own call. Off the
That's
jumbo screen.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So that was the Chelsea game. Huge result. Bounce back win. Puts them top of the table. And pending on what would have happened today with the Manchester Liverpool match, that's where they would have stayed, and that's where they did stay.
Yeah. Top of the
Um,
table.
The other Manchester club involved in play this week was Man U and Everton. They had the early match, I believe, on Saturday. This is always a big game. Everton, Man U.
Yeah, you don't say. Might be a game you want to play your two best players in, eh?
Yeah, here's your moment, guys. We didn't really talk about it. I mean, it's always a competitive match too between Everton and United. I mean, they're not like historically, I don't think like that competitive, but just of recent years, and obviously with the ties of David Moyes and Everton and United, it's kind of been amplified the last couple of seasons in particular. But Everton, they play tough. Rafa Benitez has got the guys playing kind of differently than they have been the last couple of years. He's got some new players this year, a couple young players, guys that are really stepping up for them as well, in absence of some players on injury. And, I mean, they're sitting in a Europa League spot. I mean, this is probably the tightest I've seen the table in the last few years between, first and eighth place is only separated by 4 points, which is wild. And, coming in this match, Everton and United were all square on points. I think they were both sitting in, Champions League points at this point, at this part of the season. So huge game. It's not, it's not a 4 versus 13 match.
No.
And it's a game that you want to have your full team up for and your, strongest lineup possible.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of ironic where Martial scores a goal. So you always hear how it's like, oh, the sub works. You had the player that might have been benched, arguably, if Ronaldo and Pogba were playing. I don't think that argument holds a lot of weight, because that's counteracting what would have happened if your players were actually playing. Obviously, it's possible to know what would have actually happened, but I mean, it was a really intense match. Martial getting the goal in the 43rd minute, and Cavani having his first Premier League start. Good goal by Martial. I think he really needed that. He had a lot of hype coming in, and I remember when he made his first start ever, scored against Liverpool with I think a lot of luck on his side with that one, but still, obviously in the last few seasons kind of dropped off a little bit, but hopefully that kind of gives him a boost in confidence where he can start performing again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think with how competitive the season is now, you can't, and if you're Man U, you're not particularly deep. You have to just play your squad to try and get a Champions League spot. You can just say, I'm going to do player rotations. Like Everton, West Ham, even Brighton are way too competitive where you can do a rotation on that team if you're not deep enough to afford that.
Yeah.
There's no way. You have to go. Like, great, you want to rest Ronaldo, you want to rest Pogba, but I don't think there's no Champions League. It's going to be international break next weekend. You have to play them in this game.
Yeah,
you have to, because you're going to run into a situation, especially later on in the season. Granted, maybe you're saving them for that, but you're going to have a game where maybe you're playing, Chelsea, and then in Champions League, and then City or Liverpool in the league, or whoever it might be. You have to
look at their next run of matches.
Yeah,
their next 4 matches, they have Leicester, Tottenham, I believe Chelsea, and United are the next 4 games.
You mean with City, or like maybe he's playing City?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not in that order, but I mean those four teams are their next 4 games, I believe.
Yeah,
mix in with Champions League.
Right. So if you want to be competitive in Champions League, and you want to be competitive in the league, you can't just play. You can't do a player rotation against Everton right now. You have to go out and win that game, because you're going to play Liverpool and City. No disrespect to Man U, but probably lose those games. So you have to win these games against Everton, and it's not going to look well if you're just putting Pogba and Ronaldo on the bench. If they're fatigued, you're better off them starting the game and then getting taken off and seeing what they do versus going into a game cold, because then they have to get adjusted. Even if you put them in the 60th minute, they're going to take 10, 15 minutes to get adjusted to the game and not have much time to make an impact.
Unless you're Ross Barkley.
Unless you're Ross Barkley, you can ping a pass to Spilicueta.
But that's I think it's different against Southampton and you also have like a solid group of players around you.
Yeah.
You're not like Ronaldo and trying to carry. Now all of a sudden he's the guy carrying the attack, right? So very, very tough.
Yeah. But and then Everton coming with a stellar Everton counterattack goal.
I love Townsend.
Yeah,
he's a sick player.
I actually didn't know Damari Gray went from Leicester to Everton.
Yeah, he's there too.
Good. He's finding his feet. Obviously, Rafa Benitez. They're having some good managers now. They're
know.
doing something at Everton. I tell you.
Well, they're not because they keep getting new managers.
Well,
Yeah, they need
I
someone to
mean,
stick for them.
Ancelotti's not going to turn down Real Madrid.
No,
obviously.
of course not.
And then, but good for them getting Rafa Benitez a little bit. I wonder what he's thinking, having coached Liverpool for so long.
No, just
Taking them to like.
I mean, at
Champions
that
League and then
point,
just
I think
going
it's
Everton.
a job, right? So you just
Yeah.
had to take it.
yeah,
I mean, he's obviously really good, so they were Everton probably didn't care.
we got this
we're
guy.
You want to come here? Okay.
Yeah, okay. Oh, you coached Liverpool before? Who cares?
Yeah, I know the lawyers can hang out the window when money starts talking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's similar to when, oh my gosh,
Well, Mourinho. Basically.
Mourinho.
Everywhere.
Yeah, well, everywhere. But when Mourinho went to Man U, I mean, how many times was it a massive game with Man U, Chelsea, and you got...
Well, even Chelsea going to Tottenham
Yeah,
too.
Chelsea taught
London
True.
derby, like London
Yeah.
rivalries, like
But yeah, it's always good to see. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a sport. You're gonna have players and managers rotate. It's always good to see the fans. Usually always fully getting behind whoever comes. Kind of putting the past in the past. Because really, they're there for your team. Just they're obviously doing the best job they can. So
Yeah.
they're super good and competitive when they're playing against you. Then give them a shot when they're for your team, right?
yeah. There's been tons of like top flight players that have left like big clubs to join other big clubs, like within the Premier League. I mean, like we had Carlos Tevez was City and United.
Right. Yeah.
Fabregas obviously Arsenal, Chelsea, like
Sterling here.
Sterling, Milner was
Liverpool to City,
Milner,
City to
yes,
Liverpool.
Milner I forgot he was on City, actually.
Yeah, a little City stint.
Yeah,
No, I mean, like I said, it's money, and I mean, it's opportunity, right?
yeah.
Like, who would have thought that Milner leaving City when he was like as young as he was, going to like Villa or wherever? I forget he went to Villa or West Ham, one of the two. Made a couple other stints here and there. He was at Everton for a bit too. Oh, I think of Gareth Barry.
I think Gareth Barry went from City and then made his return to
Yeah.
Everton.
So I mean, like about players like that, it's like who would have thought
Yeah.
Milner in that case too? Like he's like in his 30s now, mid to early 30s, and he's still going strong-ish.
Not at right back.
But at a club, I'm saying as a club as big as Liverpool, and he's made the impact that he has at Liverpool.
Yeah,
He probably thought when he left City, like all those years ago, maybe his career might be in the decline.
Yeah.
And then he gets to get a shot here, and obviously he makes it worth his while.
yeah, and somewhere to Townsend and Gray, making the move. I gotta give a shout out to Andrews Townsend's celebration.
Oh, he's sick.
I don't know if you guys saw
Oh, the
the-
Sue celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that.
He didn't pull it off as good as Ronaldo does.
To do it in his face though is pretty sick.
Yeah, I know that's the thing, right? Like, obviously, Townsend, it's tough to compare him to Ronaldo, but I always like to see, you got these players that are, I guess you'd call, I don't want to say average in a bad way, but, if Ronaldo and Messi are top tier, you have your great players, your good players, and you have, your other players. It's always funny to see that kind of thrown in
Who was
in
it?
the competitiveness of the game.
Ward Prowse does it like a lot. I've seen him do it like several times.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ward Prowse after he takes PKs or when he takes free kicks. He's
A free kick maybe makes sense.
well, he's a crazy free kick.
Yeah, he's good. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten more call-ups to the national squad, to be honest. But yeah, Townsend, he's scored some bangers too back in his day at Crystal Palace. I mean, he scored the one against City.
I was going to say this.
Probably, I think that's the best. For sure, the best ball I've ever seen.
Yeah,
maybe
that
the
was an
best goal.
Absolute missile.
Just what the-
Going top cheese against City. I think that was 2 seasons ago. I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2 years
No.
ago.
I think maybe it was 3.
Maybe
2 or
3,
He
yeah.
might have
it
been
was
caught
a
in
bit.
the 2 mixed seasons of
Maybe.
COVID.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's been a lot of footy stored in this
Last
brain.
season.
But yeah, that was a wicked counterattack. I put in the notes here. It took 15 seconds from the time that the corner was taken from United until the ball was in the back of the net on the other end of the field. So crazy counterattack, only between 3 players. I think it was Doucouré, Gray, and Townsend pulled that off. And yeah, the celebration was kind of funny, but that's the passion, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's huge.
Ronaldo probably loved it.
This game was just it kind of went back and forth like that. I think from that point on, I put here there's no late heroics for United. Kind of surprised that they didn't pull off some goal some way late in the match.
Ronaldo somehow scores.
But I think this game, like I put, it deserved a draw. It would have been harsh, I think, for one team to lose this game because I think it was very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if it was like a top drawer goal that was scored, then I understand. But I don't think this game could have finished 2-2 easily. It could have finished 3-3. I think this was a draw from the get go. Drop points though by United because I think they deserve these. Not deserve. I think they would want this 3 points more than Everton because they are going to be fighting for the top spot here in the Premier League. Everton, they're climbing.
Mm-hmm.
They are getting a bit better, but for United to keep pace with the big boys, like they have to start winning games like this.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
like we said before, they haven't had a top 4 match yet. I don't think this season, or even like a top 5 match maybe.
Yeah.
They haven't. They still have like a run of games coming up that are, like I said, crazy schedule. So we'll see how they do then. But these are the games that they should have really taken advantage of.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I think Man U is going to be more disappointed than Everton for the 1-1 draw. Even though Everton, I think, had a chance to win it there with that offside. They got called back.
Yeah. Could have gone differently.
Yeah, I mean, just a little more. It's one of those cases where I think being selfish there would have paid off because he was in and just did not put it far post, just trying to rip that side mesh far post.
I think
right.
Maybe in a different. I know Davies is pretty experienced, but looking at that situation and being able to tell, like, oh, he's off. Like, there's no point putting me across. He's clearly offside.
Yeah.
And just knowing it's better to be more selfish there. So.
But even from the goal scorer standpoint too, like you got to look at the line there. Like.
Well, I mean, Yeremina is not known for his number 9.
No, he's not number 9 or anything, but like he's.
So I think
you still got to just be aware of your surroundings. Like when you are that left open, or the opportunity for the pass can be there.
Yeah.
You have to check yourself a little bit. Like you should.
I
have a look up. Son.
I actually don't blame Yeremina in that position because he's probably never in that position, so has no idea to check his run whatsoever.
Maybe I'm being harsh. I don't know.
So
that's the striker
Davies,
mentality.
If I'm Davies, I'm more like, okay, Yeri, you're clearly offside, so I'm just gonna shoot it. And if he gets pissed, it's like, bro, you're offside.
It's like, sorry, look at the VAR.
Like, we'll go check VAR out.
Check the tape. Last match to get to. Oh, second last match. Sorry to get to. Spurs and Villa. Tottenham coming away 2-1 victors.
Yep.
I think this game was huge, not just for Tottenham looking for results, but for Nuno to look for results to keep his job.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off 3 straight losses at the hands of Arsenal, Crystal Palace, and boys help me out.
Chelsea. Yeah,
there we go. I should know that. I mean, tough games, but still 3 losses nonetheless. It's tough early on like this.
Yeah.
But a team like Tottenham coming off the success that they've had the last couple of seasons, I think this is a game where he was looking at, like, okay, like if I don't pull something out here, this might hurt me.
Yeah.
And going into the international break as well gives them 10 days or so, almost 2 weeks to search a new manager if possible. But the boys were able to squeak one out for him. I don't think it was really any of his doing. Nuno's doing. I think this game purely came from the players. We had 2-1 victors for Tottenham over Villa.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, I think if they don't win this, they're sitting, bottom half of the table, 12th, 11th, 12th, and yeah, it looks really bad going into the international break. But yeah, Son has just been stepping up, and kudos to him, especially with all the drama around Kane. Still performing well for them, being the guy, and Lucas Moura also, stepping up and getting a goal for Spurs, and Son with the assists. I think as we get closer to January, it's gonna be more and more interesting to see what happens with Kane. Still, I think really up in the air because if he still continues to not perform well, and it's gonna hurt Spurs. It's gonna want to make him leave more. It's gonna want the fans to make him want to leave more. Nuno's not gonna find a place for him. Ownership's gonna lose money on him
That's what I said
The
last
downward
You have
spiraling
to
cycle.
have let him go like last transfer window.
They missed their big chance.
Because who knows what has he even scored this year?
No. He
You
has
know
no.
what I mean?
I think he's a goal in maybe FA Cup or something, or
You know
Carabao
what I
Cup.
mean? So, yeah, you don't want him to leave. He's not gonna. And I'm not sure what the boardroom talks were like. But if you're Kane and you're like, hey, fine, I'll stay for another season, you have to be assertive and just say, no, I want to leave. I'm not happy here. And the ownership has to be, intelligent enough to say, like, hey, we'll sell you now because if you don't want to be here, you're going to depreciate in value. I will say, though, I'm surprised there's not more talk of Song getting picked up by someone.
Yeah. Can you imagine him at a top flight?
You know what I mean? I'm confused why City's not looking at him as their number 9.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? I think they've had their eyes set on Kane. I think maybe they think Kane can fit into a system more, but honestly, Son's impressed me every season that's gone by. I would like to see how good he would get under someone like Pep. Because, with him, and I feel like he's a really, obviously his attitude's really good. Seems pretty coachable. And obviously the work rate's there, so it would be an interesting move, but I don't know. Obviously, nothing's ever set in stone, and the transfer window is always full of surprises. So we'll see what happens there.
I just feel like a big transfer move in January. I don't see it happening.
Oh, no.
Like for a player like either Son's caliber or Kane.
Yeah.
Kane will make more sense because, like you said, he wants out.
Right.
But in his case, he came out and said all the right things at the beginning of the season, like, oh, I want to stay here. I'm a Spur for life. But if you're going to give that attitude and that mentality, then you got to back it up with your play.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't done it.
Yeah.
It's been every weekend, man. Like, he just seems so dejected and lethargic and just seems like he's just given a pissy attitude, and that's not him.
No.
We've seen how passionate he is when he plays. We've seen how, into the game he gets and how he can rally the boys, and he's talking on the pitch, and he's England's number 1. Like, he's the captain of the national squad. So clearly his leadership skills are huge.
Right.
But when you just come into these games and it feels like you're not giving your full potential or your full effort. I mean, if we're picking it up on TV, then it's being picked up everywhere. And I mean, we're just a couple goofs, talking about it here. And it's getting talked about at the BBC. It's getting talked about on Sky Sports. Everyone's saying, oh, what's wrong with Harry Kane?
Mm.
And he's not really doing anything on his behalf to change our mindset.
Yeah, he's going to have to come up with something. I mean, shout out to Holberg for getting his goal, stepping up where maybe Kane should be scoring. But, yeah, I mean, like you said, obviously I don't think Son's going to leave, especially not in January, but anytime soon. But
I just read he's getting close to signing a new long-term contract with Tottenham.
yeah,
In their case, they hope so.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, because
Kane's not doing it. You lose Kane and Son, I don't know what's going to happen. And like going back to the Kane thing, like, is City going to want him?
Yeah,
I don't know. They're like, this is what happens. Like, it's very tough. Very, very tough.
And it's just the value of Son is just going to continue to increase because in this game in particular, it was like every single time any player from Tottenham got over over half, they were trying to find Son. Whether they're going to play like a 40-yard diagonal pass if they had to,
Mm-hmm.
or like a 5-yard pass just to get away from their feet into his, just to create something. It was every single time. And Son created both goals. Højbjerg scored 27th, and Lucas Moura, they actually ended up giving it an own goal. Moura was basically going to tap the ball in. The defender slid in there to try and get it away, and they deemed that actually came off the defender last. So it was an own goal against Villa. But Son was, at the helm for both plays, and Harry Kane just not there. I mean, you would think as a number 9, as Harry Kane, and he's number 10, but as number 9 like Harry Kane is, in the way he plays, you would think it'd be him in the 6-yard box for the tap-in, not Lucas Moura.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Is he just not finding the space? Is he just not? Is his head not in the game?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, you compare it to Ronaldo where, Ronaldo, no matter what, he's going to be in the spot he needs to be to score, right? He's just that hungry for goals. He's always going to be there. Obviously, Kane's not at that level, but, the Kane of old, he would be doing everything he can to being in the right position. So, tough to say, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I really hope it just doesn't turn into a situation where just his value goes down. No one wants him, and he's stuck at a club he doesn't really want to be at, and the fans and the coach don't really want him there.
Just to check the record here, I just saw the replay of the goal that Lucas scored, and Kane was like at the top of the penalty spot. So he made a run. Son had the ball. He made the run. Kane continued his run and stopped at the penalty spot area, and Lucas Moura continued his run far post. Yeah. So it actually kind of worked out nicely. But I mean, just for Kane's standpoint, you should be in there, like in the thick of things to try and get the goal. He should be making the run. He should continue the run, I think. But yeah, Son, man, he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, I mean, shout out. Obviously, there's not been a whole lot of Koreans that have come through the EPL, and he's not one of the best Korean players in the EPL. He's just one of the best players that have been in the EPL, regardless.
Respect.
Yeah, a little shout out to him.
Last of the big games, Arsenal-Brighton, 0-0 draw.
Brighton.
I mean, this game seemed like it was going to be like a firecracker of a game. I thought this game was going to finish like 5-5 or something at one point. Like, I didn't even know what to expect. To come out goalless, a bit of a surprise there. The game was held at Brighton Stadium.
At the beach.
I mean, it would be a bad day to go to the beach because it was downpouring like a mother.
Yeah. Rainy day. And
tons of rain all through England, through the whole country basically on Saturday and a bit on Sunday too.
By Andrew.
Well, I mean, it was nuts. I talked to you guys like from Brighton to like Birmingham. It was like raining all day yesterday, and every match I was watching was just piss and rain.
Yeah.
So.
Fun fact, since we're going on a rant about something not related to soccer, did you know when it says 60% chance of rain, it actually means it's 100% gonna rain, but only a 6% chance of rain in your general location?
How do they narrow my house is going to get hit 60%?
That's the question I have.
That's what I heard.
I don't buy it.
I'm not
like, how can they pinpoint?
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely convinced that's actually true.
That's BS.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they say if they say like a 60% chance of rain for your whole city, like if you're watching like your city weather report or something on TV, they say like, oh, Windsor, it's a 60% chance of rain.
In 60% of Windsor, it's for sure gonna rain.
In 60% of Windsor, it's 100% for sure gonna rain. I'm not buying it. I actually don't buy it.
I still don't buy it because there's no way you could say it's for sure gonna rain. I mean, in some cases you can. I don't know. Yeah. In this case, it rained 100%.
It rained 100%
of England.
It rained 100% during the Brighton Arsenal game, and 100% of it, or the stadium was 100% covered in rain. That's for sure.
I concur. I concur. Yeah, it was tons of rain. It was a lot, and it was like, I love watching that because it's like I miss playing the rain.
Yeah.
It's fun. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's raining! Like, what a shitty weather." I love playing the rain.
Yeah. Well, that's how I miss my St. Joe's miss.
Oh, damn it,
Slips
Joe!
in the rain.
Don't blame the rain for that. That was just you.
Yeah,
that was just Joe being small in the box.
Yeah. So that game was 0-0.
Yeah.
Brighton remained though in a pretty respectable spot for themselves. Only 2 points off of first place, man. Like this is wild. I don't know how long they can keep it up for.
Against Norwich, they got Norwich next. You would assume.
Oh, so that's a win.
So yeah, shout out to them.
Can we see Brighton slip into the Europa League?
I think
it's shout out to them for even being in this position where they can fight for that. I mean, they picked up a draw against Arsenal where, if you're at the start of the season and you're looking at that match, you would want to draw. Maybe with how they've been playing. I mean, Arsenal has stepped up in the last, few weeks, picking up some points. But maybe they were going to this game, with all the belief they've had, picking up a win. But I don't think they'll be too disappointed with a draw, especially with the Norwich game coming up. So they could. I mean, it's gonna be tough. You know, you got Everton. You don't know how Brentford's gonna carry their run going, so it's gonna be really competitive for it. I'm excited to see what happens.
We'll see, because they got Norwich, and then they got City, Leicester, and Liverpool.
Ouch.
So we'll see if they win or draw one of those games,
Respect.
and beat Leicester. It could be, hey, we're here. Yeah, because then after that,
Kind of solidify their
kind
spot
of
there a little bit.
relatively easy games after that, except West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
So, you come out of those 3 string of games with, 4 or 6 points.
Yeah. And just talking about another side that's slipping in the standings, Leicester City coming after another draw. 2 points in their last 4 matches. Tough look for Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might be another guy kind of in the hot seat if Leicester doesn't pick up their pace here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they're another team where we're used to seeing them top 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Every season, right? They're always fighting for Champions League, but this season, not really sure what's going on. But they're sitting 13th right now. Man U next on the schedule.
Mm-hmm. And like the results that they're getting too, it's not against world beaters of teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not they're playing the top 4 and they're coming away with draws and narrow defeats. It's 2-2 at Palace,
2-2 at Burnley.
2-2 at Burnley. Where's the other ones here?
2-1 loss to Brighton.
2-1 loss to Brighton, 4-1 loss to West Ham. That was a shellacking and a half. And then a little game against Wolves is huge because that's a derby match, so that's a big win for them. But other than that, man, they haven't had much success.
Yeah, I mean, not really sure what needs to change there. I think Brendan Rodgers is a really good manager. I think it's just one of those situations he's got to figure it out because something's not working.
Yeah.
At the moment.
They got some tough games coming up. Man U in the Europa League, and then Brentford, which I guess is a tough game now, right?
Yeah,
And then
it's exciting, man.
Brighton, Arsenal after that. So we'll have to see where they stand. They got to pick up some points here, though, because you'd hate to see Brendan Rodgers go, because that's when he came. It was 2? How many seasons now? 2 or 3?
I think at least 2.
2.
Yeah.
2, yeah.
Did very well. Both done very well. I know they narrowly missed out on Champions League last season, but he's done very, very well since going there.
Yeah, for sure.
So you want to see him stay. So we'll have to see. I know every team kind of goes through this. They have a rough start. Man U's had a while ago. City's had a while ago. So we'll just hopefully they give them a chance. I know the ownership's really good there, so they probably will. Obviously they're not going to get relegated or anything like that.
No. But
So,
we look at Leicester as a top side now.
Yeah.
So we expect them to be, top 5 every single time. Maybe they're finally coming down to earth from where they were a couple seasons ago, and obviously with winning, they've been on
Riding
cloud
on a
9.
high,
Yeah,
yeah.
they've been nuts. So maybe we're finally seeing the decline. Players are getting older. Vardy's getting older. He's not really losing a step though. He keeps scoring, which is great. But maybe they're just not putting the players around him like they used to have. And other teams around them are just getting better.
Yeah.
Look how competitive the season is. I know we keep talking about it. Last week's our whole podcast was about it. Just how competitive the league is in this particular season. And I'll reiterate it again. The table. Chelsea first place, 16 points. Tottenham 8th place, 12 points.
Yeah, 4 points separating all the teams. Still a little early with 7 games in. But, yeah, you usually don't see this.
Yeah. Usually it's more cut and dry.
I love it though.
I know it's great.
I absolutely love it. I mean, if it was Chelsea 7-0, and they were 21 points, in the game,
like that. No one would like that.
Some people would like that, but I'm saying I like how it's I like how it's this tight.
Yeah.
If Chelsea was down by 1 or 2 points, I wouldn't mind it. I love the competitive of this league. It's something that we've been looking for a couple of seasons now because it has been a bit of a runaways with City and Liverpool the last couple of years. So yeah, it's just great to have this competitiveness in the league. Some teams weren't able to be as competitive this season, and some teams also haven't been able to get the results that they're expected to. And in doing so, they have to create changes.
Yeah.
Watford sees the first firing of the season in their manager, Cisco Munoz. He was hired last season to help Watford secure the Premier League status.
Yep.
And he was able to do so. I think they just finished, just outside the relegation zone, maybe like 14th place or something, 13th place.
Yep.
But coming into this season with a new transfer market and more backing from the club and supporters, he kind of promised to be more competitive this year and finish in a top 10 spot. And the season starting off the way that they have: 2 wins, 1 draw, 4 losses. Not really getting many goals against.
Yes.
Just super unfortunate to watch them, because Watford is another team that was like always exciting to watch when they were playing. And it just sucks to see a manager get sacked like this early in the season. You never want to be the first.
No.
But I feel like he might maybe go back to Spain or go back to Portugal and work with some clubs around there and get more experience, because he's a newer coach too. He's a young guy. I think he's only about 50 years old, or 40 something years old.
Mm-hmm.
And Watford was like the biggest club he's been at so far. He had a stint in I think in Russia somewhere for a little bit, and I might be completely wrong here, but he had a small coaching gig somewhere else and made the big jump to Watford like last season. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully Watford can pull themselves out of it.
Probably the toughest schedule I've seen.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, Liverpool, Everton, Southampton, Arsenal, Man U, Leicester, and Chelsea.
Ouch.
7 games. And then City. And then Brentford.
I mean, I always think clubs are way too quick to fire managers.
But when you haven't played any of the big guys yet, and this is how you're playing against clubs that you should be matching up with, caliber and skill-wise, that kind of shows you like where you're at in the table.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, in this case, it might have been warranted. It's always tough, right? Like, I think the easy move is to always fire the manager. But a lot of times that is what makes the biggest impact and transforms a team. And it's one of the only things you have immediate control over that you can change right away. So yeah, in this case, I think it might have been warranted. I would like to see clubs hang on to managers a little quicker. Like, it's sad to say, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, Leicester lose their next few games and Brendan Rodgers is gone. You could justify it, but then again, like, look at everything he's done for the club. And if you want your team to really develop super long term, I think you have to keep your managers through like a really tough season instead of just letting them go, trying to find something new. Maybe it's one of those things you have to sacrifice some short-term success for the long-term benefit of the club. Because even like the thing with Ranieri, I think if Leicester would have kept him, I think long-term it was a better move than just letting him go, especially the fact that he led them to an EPL title for the first time in history.
Yeah.
Like,
very tough to let him go after one bad season. Was it the season after they won?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Like, very, very tough for me to understand how you can just easily let a manager like that go. Like, even there was even a situation where I think early on in Sir Alex Ferguson's career, Man U was doing pretty poorly, and they were thinking about letting him go, and they convinced him to stay, and look how that turned out.
Right, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to know, but I think just the speed, like in the situation with Ranieri, letting him go the season after he just led your team to an EPL title, like what else do you want, really?
Yeah, you can't let him go after one. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think there was danger of relegation. But still in that situation, very tough. I think you have to trust him and see it out, because they did, they were close to relegation. They got out and they won the league the next season. So, maybe they were looking for more stability, but, hopefully they do it right with Brendan Rodgers. They're very unlikely they get relegated. Brendan Rodgers is one of the top managers in Europe. He's been at Liverpool. So he's definitely the guy they need. So hopefully they stick with him. Because, more than likely a team is going to have a bad season. So
yeah.
Like, are you going to stick with your manager through that? I think that's very important. I think if you and I forget who it was. I think it was Southampton. Like they had a good manager, but they wanted more attractive football and to compete for the title. Same with Arsenal. Sure, Arsene Wenger wasn't winning titles, but he was solid. And they're like, hey, we gotta get rid of him and like rebuild the team. And it's like now you're trying to get back to that spot.
Yeah.
So, very tough.
I mean, it's the age-old question, like how much impact does a manager have in the game? Clearly, we've talked about it before, saying how the manager is more just like a caretaker.
Yeah.
And they're there to kind of control the ego in the locker room. And obviously, not everyone is a master tactician and not everyone is a super motivator, but that's what the team strive for and to get. Does it translate that much on the pitch? I don't know. At the end of the day, it is just the players playing, and it's unlucky bounces, unlucky breaks. You can be tied 0-0 in the 90th minute, and you take a shot, it goes off the crossbar, and that could have sealed your fate for another game, for another week. It's unlucky. So maybe it is kind of like the easy way out by firing the manager, start fresh, doing it at this point in time before the international break. I think is a smart move if you're going to do it. You don't want to wait too long because then the season could be a waste. You want to give the new manager coming in at least the time to, try and change the culture possibly. Obviously, he can't change the players yet. It has to wait till January. But, give an opportunity to, feel out the roster, feel out the squad, maybe give some guys a chance that he might see on the training ground that, rubbed the manager the wrong way beforehand and they weren't getting a shot at the first team. Maybe you can put these guys into play, give them more confidence, whatever. We're just talking here.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in that spot. I'd love to be a manager one day. That'd be pretty fun. Even like a scout.
Oh yeah, just
imagine being like a pro scout.
Imagine you're the pro scout that found Conte and Mahrez.
Imagine that, man.
Credit to, I think we mentioned this, Leicester's finding Mahrez and Conte.
Just being given the opportunity to here's a plane ticket. Go where you want. I know this isn't exactly how it works, but go where you want. Put it for free. Meals are free. Cars paid for. Go drive to these training grounds. Watch all these games. And just try and find some talent. Oh my God, it's so much fun.
Yeah. One day.
Oh.
One day you can find the next Conte.
That's the dream. As we stated, we're heading into an international break. We have a mixture of friendlies as well as World Cup qualifying all throughout the world, basically. We got North America, Oceania, South America, Europe, of course. Whole slew of games across the world going to be taking place in the next 2 weeks. I think majority of games are starting around midweek, I believe. Next week. Oh, where are we going here? Yeah, next week. Next Friday, October 8th. Looks like the majority of games start then, and last games will wrap up around the Tuesday on the 12th, and then they return to their respective clubs. For our show, maybe we'll... Oh, it's Thanksgiving next weekend.
Yeah.
Damn. Maybe next show might be postponed to maybe a Tuesday night or something, or
we'll figure it out.
Some other point in time, but we'll get something out to you guys. I know Canada's playing on the Sunday. Could make another live stream, but
we'll see how that goes.
Sunday night's not gonna work. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll get something out to all the footy fans.
Yeah, we'll put some content out there. Maybe just like a quick, top 10 list or something, or just something. Maybe something that's not even footy related. I don't know. We'll have to talk behind the scenes here. Alright, you guys all good?
Good.
All good.
Alright, I want to thank everyone for tuning into the show. You can find us on Twitter at footy_fans, PHANS. The audio version of the podcast is also posted up on YouTube. You guys can find that by searching Footy Fans as well. I want to thank everyone for joining. We will be back next week covering all of the week's action. Ciao, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao.